Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And we certainly are. So get hooked up here. And let's see. Who's first up? Brahim, you're number one today. Good for you. Let's see. Who's coming up behind Brahim today? Janice from Brampton. Good for you. Jude from Troy, New York. Andrea, Niagara Falls, good morning. Lori, Alberta, how are you? Paul, Edmonton. Carol, West Virginia. Nativity. Donna and Lise from Sudbury. Yeah, Rainy. Jude. Elaine, how are you? Lorraine, British Columbia. Kevin, Oshawa. And Diane from LaSalle, how are you? And Wendy, good morning. David, Ridgeway. Wanda, 2 from Ridgeway. Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec. Cheryl, West Virginia. Lise, how are you? Good morning to you. Cecilia from Shediac, Nouveau-Brunswick. Lorna, Calgary, Alberta. Marlis, Beausejour, Alberta. Annette, how are you? Bonjour. Sandy, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Gail, good morning. Rosa, Gail is from Saskatchewan. Rosa from Montreal. Donna, how are you? Donna. 3 Donnas in a row. Gloria, how are you? Stouffville, that must be Millicup. Marilyn, PEI. Rita, good morning. Tina, Nova Scotia. Donna, another, I think she's just saying hello. And I missed one there. Elaine, how are you? Gary from Bolton. Jean, Peterborough. And Judy, New Brunswick. Frances from Vaughan. Fran said she got in the clouds. Fran's from Orangeville. Lynn, Arlington, Minnesota. Karen, Coldwater and Rainy. Yeah, we're going to have to build an ark here. Vince. Adeline, good morning. Couple of more guys. Nina and Heather. Nice to have you on. Heather. 2 Heathers. Patricia. 2 in a row. Hi, how are you? Elaine. And Joan, how are you? From Blind River. Wanda, Virginia. Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Boca Raton. Hot, I bet. Dave. And Meta. Patricia from Florida. Heather from Sudbury. Good morning. And Brahim cheats. I agree with you because he's always up at the top. Wanda and Marilyn. And Brandon, how are you? Francis Marie, nice to have you on. Patty, Iowa. Patty Kenny from Iowa. Little Britain, Karen, Linda, Matan, Quebec, bonjour, Elaine, and Monica, Kristen, Saskatchewan. Guys, we love you dearly. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Let's get to our questions this morning. Marilyn said she took a statin drug for many years before losing weight, which helped my cholesterol numbers. Then after stopping the statin drug 2 years ago, my doctor had me start on red yeast rice supplements, 1,200 milligrams a day. What are my thoughts on that? Well, Marilyn, do you really want to know? Look, I got no problem with red rice supplements, okay? You want to take it, go for it. What I got problem with is cholesterol and cholesterol numbers and the old thinking on cholesterol. And Marilyn, look, people today are under an enormous amount of pressure to get their cholesterol down. But if you're new to this program, well, then maybe you don't know it. But if you have any history with me at all, and I've been consistent about this for 50 years, why do you want to lower your cholesterol in the first place? You have to assume that cholesterol is bad for you. I don't assume that. You can't live without cholesterol. And it's only bad when your cholesterol is down. Okay? So when they measure cholesterol, I want it to be up, especially your HDL. So that's what I look at. You know what's bad for you? Having high triglycerides and low cholesterol. I emphasize that over and over and over again. Am I right about that? Well, I'm 100% convinced that I'm right. And as research develops and as the truth comes out, okay? As the truth comes out, they're starting to agree that I was right all along. Okay, so look. You want to take red rice supplements because your doctor, well, that's better than taking a statin drug. For sure. But again, what's the premise behind it? What's the premise? To lower cholesterol. Why do you want to lower cholesterol? You want to lower triglycerides and elevate your HDL cholesterol, especially because I'm after metabolic syndrome, which is caused by insulin resistance, which leads to heart disease. Heart disease is not caused by cholesterol at all. And one of the proofs that I use all the time is, okay, we've had statin drugs for 40-something years. What good has it done? Hasn't even put a dent in heart disease. So, Marilyn, I'm glad you asked the question because I want you to ask. I want you to, as much as you can, I'm not asking you to be a PhD. I'm not asking you to be a doctor. I'm asking you to use what God has given you. Gray matter between your ears. Use it. And you're going to get different opinions. But like I said, on my program, I will double down and triple down that cholesterol is not an issue when it comes to heart disease. It really isn't, unless it's low. Unless it's low. You just don't want to have low cholesterol. It's not good for you. Your brain's made up of cholesterol. Okay? So, thanks for the question, Marilyn. Martin. Okay, I like your name. Martin. Do tortilla chips and homemade popping corn convert quickly to sugar? Like bread. Martin, you're trying to get me, aren't you? Okay? You're trying to get me to tell you you can have some snacks. Look, Martin, I don't want you to leave the planet, okay? I always give people a plan to succeed, not a plan to fail. And part of giving a plan to succeed, listen, okay? For 30 days, do the metabolic reset. That's different. That's when you have none of that. If you're going to have a snack and you make yourself some homemade popping corn, well, it's not the end of the universe as we know it. But it's still carbs. And I want you to cut back on carbs. Tortilla chips, I don't know. They're not the best. And if you're part of, Martin, okay, listen up and watch. If you're part of the 93% of the population that have trouble with metabolic syndrome, limit your snacks big time. Limit them, okay? And I'm big on elimination, okay? That you eliminate things like that. But if you cheat a little wee bit, okay, I'm not going to have a heart attack over it. But when you're asking me, are there better snacks? Maybe, but, maybe, but it depends where you are on the metabolic chain, and you're not living on that stuff every day, right? You know that. Okay, I appreciate the question. Do they turn to sugar? Well, any carb turns to sugar more rapidly than a protein or fat does. Okay? That's just the way it is. Okay. Kathy has had hammer. I've done the hammer. Okay. The hammer dose of vitamin D. Okay? Good for you. Okay? The hammer dose is taking 50,000 IUs of vitamin D for 3 days. 50,000 IUs. Okay? Good for you. It's been proven to boost your immune system, to do it before surgery, to do it after surgery, to do it at the first sign of a cold, to do it at the first sign of a flu, to take 50,000 IUs for 3 days. It's very, very effective. What's the question? What do you think next, before my next tumor surgery removal? Absolutely do it. It'll shorten up your healing time. I love it. Okay. Suzanne, my doctor told me to take vitamin D pills instead of the drops, as my levels are too high, and to stop it for a month. Okay, what are your levels? Okay, because I think somebody asked. Let me do the two of them, because I want to make sure. There's another one on vitamin D here, I think. There. Susan, how do you know if you have vitamin D resistance? Please explain for the dumb person here. You're not dumb at all, Susan. Okay? You're asking a question. That makes you smart. Okay? But you want me to dumb it down. That's what you mean by that, right? You're not a dumb person. You ask questions, you're a smart person. You want me to give you a dumbed down answer, which I always do, don't I? I try and make things simple. Why? Because I'm a simple person. I was telling someone yesterday, I talk to the lay person. I'm not out there to impress doctors. I don't talk their lingo, which is complicated. It comes back from the old Latin, right? I learned Latin in high school. What a waste of, They told me I needed it if I was going to go into the healthcare field. Latin. Useless. Anyway. No, so Susan is saying, how do I know if you have vitamin D resistance? Please explain why your levels were at 299 in March. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. I like that number, Susan, okay? I like high vitamin D. I don't get, all uptight about vitamin D that goes high. Now, there's several reasons they can get high. There's certain meds that, sometimes you'll get people at 500, 600, 700 vitamin D, dehydroxy, Canadian numbers, which would be around a 2.5. So around 200 or 300 in the US numbers. Yeah, that's high. It doesn't bother me in a sense. Like, what happens? I always say this, Susan, and who else was asking about vitamin D? So I get your first name here, right down to the bottom. Okay, Suzanne. Suzanne, let me see. Maybe it's the same person. Wait a minute. There's Susan and Suzanne. I don't think it's the same person. So Susan's asking about vitamin D resistance, and Suzanne is asking about, let me just make sure I got a question right here. The doctor saying stop taking the drops instead of taking the pill. That I don't understand. It's better, Suzanne, that you take the drops with vitamin K2 in it. You should take vitamin D with K2. Why? Because K2 delivers the vitamin D, okay? And K2 keeps calcium out of your bloodstream, okay? Because you could take vitamin D for bones. A lot of doctors give vitamin D for your bones because it elevates your calcium. And that's all right. You need calcium, except that you don't want your calcium staying in your blood. That's why I like vitamin K2, okay? Now, to get to Susan's, okay, question, what can cause vitamin D resistance? Meaning that your vitamin D levels, now look, that can be very rare, some genetics for that. Here's what I found in my practice over the years, and I've had to answer this question to certain people because their vitamin D, their dehydroxy numbers came high, and they were panicking, or their doctors were panicking. I say, don't panic. You're not going to die because you got high vitamin D. As long as your doctor's checking your calcium levels in your blood, okay? Because the only danger is if you got parathyroid disorder and your calcium levels are high. That's not good in your blood. But if you don't have that and you have high levels of vitamin D, so what? What does it mean? Well, it usually means you're on meds of some kind, or you have autoimmune disorders. I always had people, if I saw high levels of vitamin D in their blood, I had their kidneys checked, I had their liver checked to make sure the kidneys are flushing, the liver is checked, make sure they didn't have cancer, because sometimes you get very high vitamin D if you have cancer. Okay? But here's the rule of thumb. Okay? Here's the rule of thumb. 90% of the population have low levels or non-optimized levels of vitamin D. So the major problem is actually the opposite. So Susan, Suzanne, you guys are in the rare part of the population, okay? And if your doctor's concerned about your vitamin D levels, throw them past me because $2.99, I don't worry about too much, okay? Actually, it's optimized. I kind of like that number. So, again, okay, we look at, by the way, obesity can increase your levels of vitamin D, even though a lot of people who are obese have low levels of vitamin D. But the odd one has high levels of vitamin D. The biggest thing that I saw was autoimmune. And the biggest thing I usually see with chronic high levels of vitamin D is medications and autoimmune disease. Generally, that's what I saw the most. Okay, so I hope I answered your question properly there. Thank you, Susan. Kathy, I got your questions. Angela, my friend has muscular dystrophy. She has difficulty swallowing and breathing. Would you have any recommendations? Well, look, Angela, not easy. Does she have Duchenne's? It's usually young boys that get Duchenne's, but what type of muscular dystrophy? Anyway, very serious disorder. I would put them on Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie. I'd give them the multi-nutrient, okay, in liquid. That's the best thing. Give them the vitamin D in liquid and with K2. That's what I would do. Angela, thanks for the question. Darla has a knot under the upper pad of her foot under my toes. It causes me pain. Do you have any suggestions? Well, I'd try, look, from a natural supplement wise, try curcumin. Very anti-inflammatory. Put a, real good running shoes, real good shoes. Maybe put, an arch support, lift the arch. I did that in my practice. Got people to do that. Okay. Jeff, online it says you can mix oil of oregano with olive oil. Yeah, sure you can. Put it in your ear for earaches. Well, be very careful with that. You don't want anything too harsh going in the ear. I used to tell patients, put a little bit of oil of oregano on a Q-tip. Now, I don't want you going far. You put it in your sinus, okay? Because that can be Chinese torture. You don't go too far. And snip it. In the ear, the same thing. Just put it on the edge of the ear. Don't go in too deep with it. You don't want to damage anything. And it helps to do that. I've seen people do that, but I'd be very careful with oil of oregano when you put it inside the ear, okay? It's just so strong, okay? It's so strong. You know how much I love oil of oregano, Jeff, okay? Extremely itchy ears, Jeff has. Well, you got a fungus, Jeff. So oil of oregano, take it internally. And like I say, do a little bit on the edge of the ear. Karen, excuse me, Rita, been taking multi-nutrient for 2 years. You're a smart girl. I'm concerned about having iron overload as I am 74 years old. Scared to continue. Well, do you have iron or overload, Rita? Is your iron high? Okay. And it's not because you're taking iron that you get iron overload. If you get iron overload, your liver's not working properly or your kidneys are not working properly. It usually comes with fatty liver. Okay? It can come with insulin resistance. It's not because you're taking iron that you get iron overload. Okay? If you eat a steak, you're getting heme iron. But that never gives anybody an iron overload, Rita. Okay? So I wouldn't be worried about that. But do you have iron overload? Do you know for sure you have it? You can find out with a blood test. Let me know. Okay? Send me an email, info@martinclinic.com. It'll get to me. Ask the question. Dr. Martin wanted to know if I had iron overload. Look at your numbers, Rita. And don't be scared to continue multi-nutrient. You're not going to get iron overload from multi-nutrient. I've never seen it once, and I've been using that product for over 25 years. It doesn't happen. It's the opposite. Most people don't have enough iron. Okay? It happens today in a condition called hemochromatosis that happens more, but that's more insulin, and that's because of fatty liver and insulin resistance. Okay, thanks for the question, Rita. Karen, my 8-year-old granddaughter has seasonal allergies. Okay? Begins in April, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything that would help her? I would put her on, because she got leaky gut. Guaranteed. One thing for sure. You got allergies, you got leaky gut. Okay? 100%. I love quercetin. I like the combination with seasonal allergies. Probiotics, yes, because leaky gut. 100%. You got to fix that. And probiotics fix it. Number 2, supplements. I love, and I've never seen this combination be beat as far as allergies go. I love quercetin and Navitol. Put the two together. That's what I did in my practice for years. It was the best natural solution. Okay? Natural antihistamines. Look, Claritin and all the others come with side effects. I'm not saying you never use them. I'm just telling you that you're not getting at the root problem, first of all, and they come with major side effects. Thanks, Karen. Okay? On your podcast, Susan, okay? There's Suzanne, okay? There's Susan, and there's Suzanne. I just said that. Okay. I love you, Susans. Okay. On your podcast, 1005. Okay. What did I say? You said leaky liver. What does leaky liver mean? Okay. Thanks for the question, Susan. We like that question. Well, look, you know me. Leaky gut is one of the major causes of all disease. You have insulin resistance, major cause of chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune, Alzheimer's, insulin, leaky gut, big factor in all those diseases too. Cancer, okay? Autoimmune, 100% leaky gut. But what they're showing today, Susan, okay, and this is why I've said that, is that there's a connection between leaky gut and leaky brain. Leaky gut, leaky skin, eczema, psoriasis. Leaky gut, leaky sinuses. Chronic sinusitis is usually a fungus that got in there because of leaky gut. Leaky gut, leaky joints. Leaky joints, leaky gut, leaky heart, because the bacteria in your gut have a major connection to bacteria in even the heart and the liver. And the liver. There's communication. We didn't know that. When I was in school in the 1970s, we didn't know any of that. We didn't know that bacteria, friendly bacteria, they communicate with each other. Man, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You got trillions of bacteria and they talk to each other. It's amazing. Got leaky gut, you can have leaky liver. And your liver's not working properly. Because you need the microbiome. It's everywhere. It's on your skin. It's in your brain. It's everywhere. Anywhere where you have any kind of mucus, you got bacteria. And quit wiping bacteria out with these antiseptics and soaps and hand sanitizers and all that. I go crazy. I get a migraine when I see that stuff. That's what I meant by it, Susan. Crystal, why do I take insulin when I'm insulin resistant? Because, Crystal, if you're taking insulin, it's because you're a diabetic. And your insulin's not even working anymore. But what started all that? Go back. What started all that is your cells became resistant to insulin. You were a carboholic. My name is Tony, and I'm a carboholic. Okay? Once a carboholic, always a carboholic. Now you got to eliminate. And I don't know, Crystal, I don't know you, but I'm assuming, okay, I'm assuming that you were 100% a carboholic. It's the only way of getting diabetes unless you're type 1 diabetic, okay, which is an autoimmune disorder. Your pancreas isn't working. It's not secreting enough insulin, therefore you need insulin. But a lot of people are given insulin and they're diabetic. They're type 2 adult onset sugar diabetes, because that's really what the name should be. And if you're taking insulin, it's because when your cells resist insulin over a long period of time, finally, insulin has a job to do, by the way. If you eat a carbohydrate, insulin is out en masse to what? To take the sugar out of your bloodstream. You're having a piece of bread. It's just sugar holding hands. Dr. Martin, it's whole wheat. I don't care. It's just sugar molecules holding hands. You need a lot of insulin. And sugar needs to come out of your bloodstream. So your body is dedicated to keeping your sugar out of your bloodstream. Why? Because sugar destroys. Sugar is toxic. Sugar destroys your blood vessels. Just ask any diabetic. They know. So that's in your cells eventually go, you know what? I'm so sick of you, insulin, coming around. I'm tired of you. You're a bad neighbor. Quit knocking at my door. And they resist the insulin. But insulin says, I don't care. If you insist on eating the way you eat, I'm coming back. I'm back. That's insulin. You eat carbs, I'm back. That's the way it operates. And then to a point, okay, because this is what diabetes is. Now it's not working anymore. Insulin's back, but it doesn't work properly. So now it can't take the sugar out of your bloodstream. So medicine gives you insulin. Okay, I get it. But they never talk about diet. They talk about moderation when it should be elimination. I learned that in the 1960s when I was 16 years old. My dad became a diabetic, and he said, son, it's sugar diabetes. Your dad will have no longer eat sugar. My light went on. And when I got to school and they were trying to teach me moderation, I said, you're a bunch of liars. It's elimination. That was over 50 years ago. Okay. And I've never changed. Okay, thanks for the question. Okay, that was, who is that? If we can get back to this. That was Crystal. Okay. Sonia says she's had 5 days of prednisone for eczema. I don't like the meds, but had to accept this as the eczema was taking over. How do I help this? I'm thinking of probiotic. Yeah, because I can guarantee you, Sonia, you have severe leaky gut. Eczema is severe leaky gut. This is going to take time. You need to get off all sugars. Get off all sugars. You need to do the reset for 30 days at least. That is eggs, meat, and cheese. Last night, my grandson said, Grandpa, I'm eating EMC. I said, you are? Good for you. He said, yeah, eggs, meat, and cake. He's a comedian. I said, well, that's not my EMC. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? Get off. Okay? Get off. Now, you might find too, Sonia, you got to figure this out. You might be sensitive to dairy too, so be careful, Okay? Just do it by the process of elimination, okay? But definitely get off all the sugars, fix leaky gut, probiotics. You got a major, major yeast infection. That's what eczema is. That's what psoriasis is. It's autoimmune. Your body's screaming. And you happen to see it because it's on your skin. A lot of people have a leaky gut and it's not on their skin, so they don't see it, but they got leaky gut. It's a major, major factor in health today. And people don't know about it because they like doctors, leaky gut. I said leaky gut 40 years ago and the doctor said I was the biggest quack that ever lived. Remember, I had radio shows. I wrote books. I was traveling all over the place. I talked about leaky gut with chronic fatigue syndrome, and they thought I was crazy and had two heads. Well, I am crazy. Okay? I am. But, anyway, you guys know me, okay? Let me see here. Let's do a couple of more. Cheryl, I chase pain every day in different parts of the body. I'm in menopause. You are in hormone country there, Cheryl. Could a decline in estrogen cause this joint pain? Well, no, it's an imbalance, okay? I'm not a big guy in declining estrogen. I know it happens, but it's more than that, because if you know me at all, Cheryl, I am a big guy on balancing hormones, estrogen, progesterone. They have to be equal. And doctors, look, it's so simple to go, oh, your estrogen's coming down. Yeah. You're in menopause. Yeah. Your estrogen's coming down. Of course. You learned that the first day in medical school. But so what? That's not the big issue. Of course your estrogen's coming down. But it's your progesterone that balances that out. And they forget that. Or they never learned that. It's amazing to me how little knowledge most physicians have on hormones. It's almost like they're in kindergarten when it comes to hormones. They don't know how to balance them. They don't even know how they work properly. Have they forgotten? And today, by the way, I don't like estrogen. In a sense that I don't like people taking it. I don't. Okay? First of all, when they give it to you, unless it's a bioidentical, they're giving you horse's urine. You're not a horse. So don't take estrogen, the synthetic version. And I don't even like giving estrogen in a bioidentical. I don't like it because we live in a world that's full of estrogen. Everything plastic, every herbicide. This is what I kind of like. And you know what? We got to do a program on this. We'll probably do it on Monday. Let's say Tuesday. Let's try and do it because Monday I still got to be answering questions. But guys, this is what I like about the Make America Healthy Again. The MAHA. I like it. At least they're talking about all these herbicides and pesticides and chemicals and dyes in the food. That elevates your estrogen. Why do you think we have so much cancer? It's one of the biggest reasons. So, look, you can get joint pain, but it's not just estrogen. It's an imbalance of hormones, which will create inflammation. And I'm going to tell you something. One of the things that I found, Cheryl, over the years, is another hormone that causes joint pain more than anything, more than estrogen or low levels of it or progesterone or whatever. You know what I found over the years? Insulin. More related to joint pain. So clean up your diet. It's a big step. Cut out the carbs, those crappy carbs. Okay? Good question. Okay, let's leave it at that. Let's see how many more questions. I got a fair amount, so we got to do this on Monday. Okay? We'll do them on Monday. Thanks for those questions, guys. We appreciate it. Okay? We do. We'll do that Q&A Monday. Okay? And Monday, isn't it a long weekend in the United States? My American friends? I'm going to be on. We're going to be on Monday. Lord willing. I should always say that. Okay? Guys, we love you. I'm just breathing, okay? I feel like I've been running a marathon here. Okay? We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.